Hi, welcome back. In our previous session, we transacted the Dear Departed one act play from reading A of Class 10 English Reader Unit 2. And in this session, we'll transact rest of the play. Right, what has been the story completed so far? Amelia Slater and Elizabeth Jordan are the sisters, and their father is Abel Merryweather. Abel Merryweather is supposed to have died on the upstairs. Amelia is in mourning outfits. Also, she ordered her daughter Victoria to wear black dress as a sign of mourning. In the meanwhile, the selfish lady Amelia stole the belongings of her father, such as a bureau, a pair of slippers, and a mantelpiece. And all of them were brought from upstairs to downstairs, and the pair of slippers were worn by her husband Henry Slater. Having received the telegram, Elizabeth Jordan and her husband Ben Jordan arrived at the house of Amelia. After a couple of conversations, all of a sudden, there was a noise from upstairs. Victoria says her grandfather, Abel Merryweather, is getting down. Terrified by the words of Victoria, they glanced at the upstairs. Oh my God, it's really Abel Merryweather coming towards them. Is he really Abel Merryweather or his ghost? Now, let's transact rest of the plan. Abel speaks on. What's the matter with little Vicky? He sees Ben and Mrs. Jordan. Hello, what brings you here? Abel Merryweather sees the couple Ben and Elizabeth. Hello, what brings you here? How's yourself, Ben? He questions Ben. Abel thrusts his hand at Ben and skips back smartly and retreats with Mrs. Jordan to a safer distance below the sofa. Right. And then what happens? Mrs. Slater speaks, approaching Abel gingerly. Gingerly means in a careful way. Father, is that you? She pokes him with her hand to see if he is solid. Amelia can't believe her father is alive. That's why she pokes at his body whether he is really alive or not. Oh my God, he's really solid. So he is alive. It is for sure. Then what happens? Abel says, of course, it's me. Don't do that, Amelia. What the devil do you mean by this tomfoolery? Here, we have come across two interesting words. One is a phrase. What the devil? What the devil means? Old-fashioned way of showing annoyance. Old-fashioned way of showing annoyance. Annoyance means a bit anger. Then, what do you mean by tomfoolery? Being foolish. Being foolish is called tomfoolery. Mrs. Jordan says, you took us by surprise. Father, are you keeping quite well? He can't make out why all of them have gathered at one place. Why have Elizabeth and Ben come to his house? All these happenings are puzzling him. Then what happened? Abel says, what? Mrs. Jordan says, are you quite well? She questions again, are you quite well? Then Abel says, I am right enough, but for a bit of a headache. Looking at Amelia. Amelia, what the dickens did I do with my new slippers? Here, another interesting idiom is noticed. What is it? What the dickens? What the dickens means? An expression to show that you are annoyed. Abel is surprised for the missing of his slippers. Then what happens? Mrs. Slater says, confused. Aren't they by heart, father? They are located at the hearth of your room, father. Amelia says. Then what's the reply of Abel? I don't see them. Observing the Henry trying to remove the slippers. In the meanwhile, Henry, who wore the slippers of Abel, was trying to remove them. And Abel caught it. Why you got them on, Henry? Abel questions. Then Mrs. Slater says, I told him to put them on, touch them. They weren't that new and hard. No, Henry. Father, I asked them whether they are being stitched or not. That's why Henry was trying them. Mrs. Slater stitches the slippers from Henry and gives them to Abel, who puts them on and sits in the armchair. Then what happens? Mrs. Jordan says to Ben, well, I don't call that delicate stepping into a dead man's shoes in such haste. Victoria runs across Abel and sits on the floor at his feet. Victoria, the small girl, the daughter of Amelia, comes nearer to her grandfather. Then Victoria says, oh, Grandpa, I'm so glad you are not dead. Mrs. Slater says, in a vindicative whisper. What do you mean by a vindicative whisper? Talking about someone in a harsh and hasty manner. Look at the meaning here. Right. Then Abel says, what's that? Who is gone dead? Abel still does not understand that all of his family members are in a perspective that he was dead and he was alive all at once. Then Mrs. Slater says, loudly, Victoria says she saw about your hat. Abel, thank you, Vicky, but I am feeling better. Abel says again, why, Ben, are you in mourning? And this old man has caught another point. All of them are in the outfits of mourning. What are the outfits? Dark dresses worn by them. So he talked to Ben. Why, Ben? Why are you mourning? And Lizzie too. Lizzie means Elizabeth Jordan, the second daughter of Abel. Why, Ben? You are in mourning, and Lizzie too, and Amelia, and Henry, or little Vicky, who is gone dead. It's someone in the family. He chuckles, means a jiggle. Then Mrs. Slater says, no one you know, father, a relation of Ben's. Amelia is shocked with the interrogative questions of her father. As such, in a sheer state of confusion, she told a lie to her father. What's that? She says, a relative of Ben is dead. Then what's the reply of Abel? And what relation of Ben's? Yet another question from Abel. Then Miss Slater says, his brother. Ben replies, damn it, I never had one. He said silently. Amelia uttered a lie that Ben had a brother. Then Ben is annoyed with Amelia's lie. He said seriously to Amelia, damn it, I never had one. Then Abel says, dear, and what was his name, Ben? Abel again questions. He wants to know the name of Ben's brother. In fact, that brother really not exists. Then Ben says, he's in a completely perplexed state. He's mumbling, He crawls to front of table. Mrs. Slater says from right side of table, prompting, Frederick. And Mrs. Jordan says, left side of the table, prompting, Albert. Amelia says, Frederick. And Elizabeth says, Albert. So Ben again gets confused. Then what's the reply of his to Abel? Fred, Isaac. Fred, Isaac. As such, in a sheer state of nonplussing, he mumbled the words, Fred, Isaac. Then what happens? Abel speaks on, Isaac, and where did your brother Isaac die? Ben, in Australia. In Australia. So he told a lie to Abel. Then Abel speaks on, rising. Well, I suppose you have only been waiting for me to begin tea. I am feeling hungry. Abel wants to take tea because he is hungry. Then Mrs. Slater says, taking up the kettle, I'll make tea. Come along, now sit you down and let's be jolly. So Abel is in cheer mode. He wants to celebrate the occasion because all the family members are all with him now. Abel sits at the head of the table facing spectators. He sits at the head of the table like in this manner, and rest of the family members sat on either sides of the table. Abel says, suddenly recollecting, he recalls something. Hey, Amelia and Henry, what the devil did you mean by shifting my bureau out of my bedroom? What the devil? It's a phrase. What does it mean? showing a sign of annoyance, a sign of anger. Henry and Mrs. Slater are speechless. Do you hear me, Henry? Amelia? Abel suspected that his bureau was stolen. Mrs. Jordan says, what bureau was that, father? Abel says, what? Why, my bureau, the one I bought. Then Mrs. Jordan says, pointing at the bureau, was it the one, father? Abel says, that's it. What's it doing there? Abel finds out his bureau is kept there. We'll stop this transaction at this particular point and let's learn important words and their meanings. And afterwards we shall also discuss a couple of comprehension passages and their questions. Look at here. Gingerly means in a careful way. Paw, push. What the devil, old-fashioned way of showing annoyance. Tomfoolery, foolish or silly behavior. What the dickens, an expression to show that you are annoyed. Vindicative whisper, talking about someone in a harsh and hasty manner. Double-faced, hypocritical or deceitful or dishonest. Thumping, hitting hard. Look at a small passage. You took us by surprise, father. Are you keeping quite well? First question. Who is the speaker of these words? Answer. Mrs. Elizabeth Jordan is the speaker of these words. Second one. Who is referred to as father here? Answer. Abel Merryweather is referred to as father. Third. Why are they surprised? Answer. They were surprised because they thought Abel was dead but he is alive now. And more number of questions. Who was really glad for Abel being alive? Victoria was really glad for Abel being alive. Does Ben really have a brother? No, he really does not have a brother. Who told a lie to Abel that Ben had a brother? Amelia Slater told a lie to Abel that Ben had a brother. Did Abel notice that his things were stolen? Yes, Abel noticed that his things were stolen. What were the stolen things? A bureau, a mantelpiece, and a pair of slippers. Dear students, the rest of the transaction will be continued in my next session. Until then, bye. Thanks for watching.